Okay. So we had last week, if you cast your mind back, last week's practice was about taking support, about being held, but particularly take support to feel safe, to feel um, kind of grounded. And so we're taking that one step further this evening. And I planned this at the beginning of the week, so you'll have to forgive me because I really should move a little bit more with the times, because I planned the lesson with more of a kidney theme, because kidneys are represented by the element of water, and water always wants to drop down. It wants to find the lowest place that it can be. It likes to let gravity take control. And so the class was themed a little bit around that. However, now it's Thursday. I don't know about you, but it was 16 degrees in Gravesend this afternoon, and I was walking around not only with my coat undone, but my coat off. I was boiling earlier. So we were having that kind of wobble, aren't we, still, which for Chinese medicine purposes is still very much the earth element as we sort of shimmy our way towards winter and or autumn and then winter, and then we take two steps backwards and we come back into that late summer, that dampness, because it has been very wet this week, hasn't it? But it's still been very mild. Such, and I would say it's strange weather, but when I cast my mind back 20 years ago, two of my very, very good friends got married in November, at the beginning of November. And it was an absolutely stunning wedding because all the leaves of the trees were all these different colours, and the whole wedding was this autumnal theme, and the bride looked fabulous. And we were outside for most of the wedding. It was such a mild afternoon. All the photos were outside, the sun was shining, it was glorious. So, whilst we can blame it all on global warming, that was 20 years ago. So, don't know about that. Anyway, I invited you to take a lie down, didn't I, a long time ago? And therefore, if you want to put something underneath the knees, like your bricks or your bolster, then please do. And you're just going to settle into the mat. And I invite you to take a big breath in. Open your mouth and sigh it out. Breathe in again. Sigh out. And as you sigh the breath out of your body, maybe one more breath like this. Feel more of the back of your body connecting to the ground. So it's this spreading and releasing sensation across your back body as more of the surfaces connect to the mat. Let the legs be heavy as well. Let go of the weight of your arms. Let go of the weight of your head. And please notice how easy it is to be able to do that. For some of us seasoned yogis, it becomes second nature. We welcome this state of release and stillness and relaxation. That's what we come here for. And for others of it, we carry so much stress or tension and tightness in our bodies that it becomes very hard to obtain that same ability to let go. And we can fluctuate between the two. We can have those weeks where we feel really chilled and completely peaceful and calm, and then other weeks where everything just gets under our skin and we just hold on to it within our bodies. So, with that in mind, just notice how easy it might or might not be for you to let go. I asked you in Tuesday's class to breathe in and to open your palms. And as you breathed out, you closed your palms and made a soft fist. One of my favourite meditations is to open the palms on an inhale and to close the palms on the exhale. And to notice which feels more natural, which feels more welcoming to you. Because sometimes it's the release, it's the spreading of the fingers, the openness of the palms, the letting go, maybe of the heat of the palms, good sign of letting go of heat from your heart. Sometimes we need to keep the heat, sometimes we need to keep a sense of protection. The heart likes to be protected. So the palms being closed and the fingers curled in feels better. There isn't a right or a wrong here. I'm not asking you to overanalyze what's going on for you, but just take yourself into an awareness. Where are you at tonight? Does it feel comfortable to spread your body across your mat and to let your head go? Let the muscles of your neck and your shoulders release. Because it's also okay to not feel okay here. It's okay to want to be curled up into a ball and to hug your knees towards your chest or even to lay on your tummy. We have this gift with our practice, this gift that gives us time to connect with these very interesting sensations and awarenesses that come up in our bodies. So, take one more breath here. And then you're not changing your position too much. You can either take your bolster, excuse me, or a couple of blocks, and you're putting the bolster, you don't have to come into it like I just did either. You can put your feet on the floor, lift your hips, and just roll the bolster underneath the back of your body. So hopefully that looked a little bit less adventurous. So we're going to start with 2 minutes here with the body being supported. So a reminiscence of last week's yoga practice. And then we're going to take a couple of minutes with the legs in the air in bamboo garden. So you're going to look like this. And then we're going to take 2 minutes with the legs stretched out. So we've got that lovely opportunity to extend the spine and extend through the front body. Okay, so for now, just come into a supported bridge position, please. Bolster is quite nice because it's softer. Bricks are quite nice because it gives you the opportunity to change or to play with the height a little bit more. And then just hang out here. If you were in the state of being where you felt better to have the hands closed, then I would gently suggest that you take a blanket and you put the blanket over your body. Now, it doesn't have to be over your whole body, but sometimes just having the blanket over the lower part of the torso, so the belly and the front of the hips, can feel very calming. It might be because you feel warmer, it might be because of the added weight, like a weighted blanket situation. I do love a weighted blanket. Um, Maybe you need it coming up to your chest, but obviously don't overheat here if you're already in a bit of a hot bod situation. But this is just if you feel you need a little comfort or a little bit more of being held. Obviously, the bolster is underneath us, and that gives us that chance to feel held. But it leaves the front of the body very exposed. So if you feel overexposed, use a blanket to give yourself a bit of coverage. And I'm going to leave you alone for this next minute, just to be with your breath. So last breath in this position. And then can you transition your legs into the air? So you might have to adjust the support that's underneath you slightly, because the key to this is to be able to have the legs in the air with effortlessness, okay, with complete ease. So legs up in the air, bamboo garden. Arms can be opened out to the sides if you feel that's where you're at today. Or arms can give yourself a hug if you feel that you need a little bit of love. Or perhaps you can wrap the arms loosely around the top of your head. Totally your call, totally up to you, and where you put your hands or your arms. Now, we're only going to be here for a short while. If you happen to want something heavy over or resting on your feet, then if like me you've got quite a heavy blanket, 'cause mine's made of cotton, so it's got a bit of weight to it, then it's quite nice to take that up into the air and balance it on your feet. This isn't everybody's cup of tea, but it might be something to try if this isn't how you normally practice this pose. So last breath. If you balanced something on your feet, take it down carefully. Maybe you want that weight back onto the front of your hips again as you slide your feet away from you. You might need to do this in stages, so you might need to have the knees bent first and then slide the legs away in a moment once you've got rebalance through your body. And if you like, you can take the arms alongside your ears or in any shape really, and just take a full body lengthening out. And we'll stay here for a couple of minutes. Okay, so last couple of breaths. And of course, if you want to stay longer to shorten your rebound moment, then please stay a little bit longer if you like. But if you're ready to come out of this, then push your bolster back towards the back of your knees again. Lay your back body gently down onto the mat. And you can do one of two things. You can stay in this supported Shavasana position, or you could bring the knees in towards the chest. And that's quite nice, especially if you've been feeling like you need some comfort. There is another option where you take your bolster and you lay it. I know some of you like doing this. I'm a bit like this. I like this one. So you give it a hug and you wrap your legs around it too. You don't have to wrap the legs. The feet can be on the floor. You can just have the weight of the bolster resting on your tummy and just give it a hug, and that feels so nice. But that's just an opinion. It might not be something that's shared by everybody in the room. So you're going to take a few more breaths here. Okay. So then our next move moves us into the upper back just for a little while. Again, just a short space of time. You'll notice that we've got shorter holds in tonight's practice. So I've taken my blanket and I've kind of made it into a sausage that's going to go underneath my upper back. Now my arms might open out to the sides. Excuse me, I've still got this all this residual kind of phlegminess from the cold that I had a couple of weeks ago. It's just taking its time to do one. So it's very annoying because when you come up to sit, it moves and then you lie down and it moves, etc. So that's what's going on for me. Anyway, you can lie with the arms open and the legs long, or you can hug the knees in towards you. It kind of defeats a little bit, but if you feel that that's where you need to be in your practice, you're still going to get some of this benefit through your upper back. And I really can't stress enough how important even a very mild extension for the upper back is. And I'll tell you why we're doing this, because we are leading up to a pose. It's a bit like on Tuesday's class, we moved towards one final pose at the end of the practice, and that's exactly what we're doing tonight, moving towards one final pose. Okay, so you're going to take your last few breaths here. So for this first portion of the practice, everything has been very floor based. I've asked you to sink and to let your body weight rest deeply against the props. And moving the legs into different positions has given you that opportunity to feel heavy into the bones. We're still going to carry on with that theme. Remember how water wants to drop to its lowest point. However, we are going to come up to a seated position for our next pose. So I appreciate that I haven't given you a rebound as yet, but if you can bend your knees, place your feet on the mat, lift your back body up and just slide your blanket out for a moment and then come lie back down again and just let your back body settle and rest. Notice the shifts in your state of being. And kind of halfway through our practice, what does it feel like to be here now? Okay, so coming over to one side and making your way up into a seated position. Now you can keep your blanket in its rolled up form because our next pose is snail pose. No, it's not, it's caterpillar, sorry. And you're going to maybe put something underneath your knees, like your bolster, so that you can round yourself over the legs. The idea being is that the spine gets this chance to lengthen out in the opposite way that it has done so far in the practice tonight. Done lots of extension through the spine, haven't we? So this is flexion, this is folding forwards. So let your body round. Now, if you want less bend in the knees, don't use the bolster, use your blanket. But equally, if you want some support for the front of the hips or that feeling of being held, then you can wedge your blanket into the front of your hips and fold over the legs. And that actually feels quite nice. Not probably so great if you've eaten recently, but it does feel quite nice on the front of the hips. So if you've got a little bit of restriction there, as it feels a bit tight, then this is a way to keep the front of the hips open. Okay, so timer is on. Let yourself just hang forwards. You have a couple of options. You could just let the head hang from the top of the spine. And with each exhalation, the hanging of the head gets a little bit more and you feel like you're folding a little bit deeper. And this is minute movements. You're hardly even noticing. Me from the outside would hardly notice the movement that's occurring for you. So that could be option one. Option two could be to rest your head into your hands. Just take a little bit of the pressure out of the head, out of the neck, but still maintaining the rounded shape of your back. You have 4 or 5 more breaths here. Okay, so take a last breath here. And slowly release whenever you're ready. The bolster can stay under the knees if you like, and you can lay your back body carefully down, so carefully, just like you're laying a newborn baby back down. Really enjoy taking smooth, steady breaths. Okay, so now we come towards the pose we've been building up to for this practice. And I gave it away already, I used the name. We're going to come into snail pose. It's not a pose that I practice often, and because it's a challenging one. It's one that perhaps you might find difficult. So I will give you some alternatives as always. So snail, imagine a snail. You're basically trying to replicate a snail with a shell on its back. So this rounded shape that you made with your spine a moment ago is exactly the shape that you're going to make, albeit upside down in the other plane. So to get into the pose, you have a couple of options. You can do it completely prop free, where you lift your hips up, you maybe put your hands onto the back. Now notice how I'm rounding my back. Okay, now you could put, no, notice my feet are kind of hanging here. You can put something behind you, like a chair, like a bolster, to kind of catch your feet onto, or you can put your feet down onto the floor. But obviously we want to try and keep this rounded shape that's going on here, like this. Now, that isn't everybody's cup of tea, I appreciate. So, an alternative is to bring good old bolster back underneath, but instead of it being under your hips like it was earlier, you try to bring it a bit higher up your back. So, you lift your hips and move the bolster further up your spine. So then when you come into this position, the bolster's already there. And actually, this is a much more comfortable, gentler, accessible version of the pose. So I kind of gave it to you full on, the first version. This version allows you to feel supported by the bolster, but also with the rounded spine happening. And notice where I've got my arms. They don't need to be here. You could hug your knees and bend your knees a little bit. So now it's kind of becoming a little bit like happy baby. So if you think, actually, this isn't for me, this is uncomfortable for my neck, then my suggestion, my alternative is to push the bolster away, back underneath your hips, and to come into supported happy baby, which is a much milder version of this pose. If happy baby is not your bag this afternoon, this evening, sorry, then you could just hug your knees in towards your chest. And all three of these versions are still giving you the rounded spine, just with less intensity each time. All right. So find your way into one of these versions. And it's totally okay to not like any of them. And if you don't like any of them, then perhaps child's pose could be your alternative. You could practice caterpillar, which was the forward fold that we just did a moment ago, but maybe this time you practice it with your legs straight instead of your knees bent. There's always a way to modify. And we don't need to stay here as long because it is a strong pose, especially if you're balancing on your top of your shoulders, for instance. It's very similar to plow pose, isn't it? Halasana. So know that you can come out of the shape anytime. There's one more minute to go. Let your breath allow you to sink. Let the exhale allow the rounded shape of your spine to increase. Last breath. And slowly, gently release. Come down very carefully and take your time. Pushing the bolster back underneath the knees again, perhaps. And I quite like putting the bolster actually underneath the feet now. So instead of the bolster catching the knees and the knees to be bent, it's quite nice. This is just a suggestion, it's not necessarily one that you have to follow. Remember how at the very beginning of class I asked you to think about how your back body was connecting to the mat beneath you? Can you be aware of those sensations across your upper back, back of the rib cage, the back of the hips? Okay. Take a last breath here as you are. We've done a lot of linear shapes, a lot of folding forwards or falling backwards, a lot of extension for the spine and a lot of flexion for the spine. So now I'd like you to offer yourself a twist. It could just be a simple knees bent, rolling the knees out to one side. It could be a more complicated twist of your choice or a deeper twist. You could use your bolster underneath your knees or in between the knees. Just come into something that makes sense through your own body. And you know that it's going to enhance your experience. This is your final pose, your final few moments here. And it's your chance to gift yourself a relief and a release. So then, if you're ready, it's time to come on to the second side. Take your time, please don't rush to move or rush to turn to the other side. Take as much time as you need to ease across. You might need a different shape. You might need different support. You might feel like you're getting a little chilly now, so cover yourself with a blanket. These final twists are to relieve the spine. So feel the length of your spine rotating, softening. Remember that nothing in your body is flat or straight. Nothing in your body has an edge. Every single surface is curved. The shape of your bones are curved and rounded. Each and every organ has soft edges. Even down to a cellular level, everything is curved. There are no right angles. We are quite literally a rounded bag upon bags of shapes, containers that hold us all together in this perfect form that we get to call our bodies. Take your last breath here in this twist on this side. And then slowly return your shape to neutral. Maybe you have a rock and a roll from side to side. And perhaps you now come to a comfortable final rest in Shavasana. Maybe it's with support. Maybe it's with a blanket over the top of you to keep you warm. Maybe it's with the arm of a jumper to shield the light from your eyes. To finish our practice this evening, I'll share with you these short lines. Self-love is a sincere acceptance of the past, an agreement to make the most of the present, and a willingness to allow the best to occur in the future, wholeheartedly. Self-love is a sincere acceptance of the past, an agreement to make the most of the present, and a willingness to allow the best to occur in the future, wholeheartedly. Take one more breath in as you are. I love that you've got all wrapped up, most of you. It's really lovely. Breathe right down into your fingers and your toes, and we'll go back to the meditation right at the beginning and right echoing back to Tuesday, where we breathed in and you uncurled your fingers and opened your palms, and exhale, close your palms and make soft fists. And just do this a couple of times more, breathing in and opening, breathing out and closing. What feels happiest within your body right now? The opening, the closing, maybe it's even a little bit of both. No right, no wrong here, just an awareness. And then I'd like you to let go of that practice, to bring your knees in towards your chest for a little hug. Roll across to the side and come round and up to sit. Okay. Doesn't matter how you sit, but please just be comfortable to finish our practice together. Take your fingertips out to the sides. As you breathe in, raise your arms high above your head. Let your palms find each other. And then exhale, hands down towards your heart center and bringing your practice to its conclusion. Namaste to each and every one of you. And thank you so much for coming to practice tonight. Well done.